In a sleepy village, the Church of St. Augustus stood as a solemn monument of faith and history. Its towering spires pierced the sky, but hidden beneath its sacred walls lay a forgotten room sealed for centuries. Legend spoke of eerie whispers that floated from the room, silencing prayers and drawing shadows into the church halls. Father Benedict, the head priest, dismissed the tales as mere folklore. Yet a young investigator, Clara, was intrigued after hearing the legend from a local elder. Determined to uncover the truth, she ventured to the church one misty evening. The village's streets were silent, save for the rhythmic creaking of the church doors. Inside, flickering candles cast long, wavering shadows across the walls. Beneath the altar, a rusted, hidden trapdoor hinted at the start of her perilous journey. Clara's fingers trembled as she gripped the edges of the trapdoor, her flashlight trembling in her other hand. The metal hinges groaned like the moaning of an ancient spirit as the trapdoor creaked open. A waft of stale, musty air filled her nostrils, laced with a faint metallic tang. Peering inside, Clara's flashlight beam illuminated stone stairs spiraling downward into a suffocating darkness. A strange, almost melodic humming noise floated up from the depths. She hesitated, questioning her courage, but curiosity drove her forward. As she descended, the sound grew louder, now accompanied by faint whispers. The walls were damp, etched with peculiar, almost runic markings. With each step, the oppressive weight of something unseen pressed harder against her chest. At the bottom of the stairs, Clara discovered a heavy oak door bound by rusted chains. A strange, otherworldly cold radiated from its surface. The whispers became a cacophony of voices, as if countless souls spoke in unison. Clara fumbled with the chains, eventually breaking them with a crowbar she had brought. As the door swung open, a rush of icy wind extinguished her flashlight, plunging her into total darkness. Clara lit a small lantern she carried, revealing the forgotten room's horrifying contents. The walls were adorned with faded murals of exorcisms and demonic rituals. A massive stone altar stood in the center, stained with dark, unidentifiable substances. On it lay an open book, its pages filled with symbols that seemed to writhe under her gaze. Clara's lantern flickered as she stepped closer to the altar, her breath visible in the chilling air. The whispers returned, forming coherent words that seemed to be a warning. "Leave while you can." Her hands trembled as she reached for the book, but before she could touch it, the room trembled violently. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a piercing scream echoed from an unseen source. The door slammed shut behind her, trapping her inside. Panic rose in Clara as the book's symbols glowed brighter, and a shadow began to form on the wall opposite her. It twisted and writhed, eventually taking the shape of a tall, cloaked figure with hollow, glowing eyes. The shadow pointed a skeletal hand at Clara, its voice deep and guttural. "You shouldn't have come." The shadow lunged at Clara, enveloping her in freezing darkness before vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. Shaken but unhurt, she noticed a burning sensation on her wrist. Lifting her sleeve, she saw a strange mark, a spiraling symbol etched into her skin, glowing faintly. Her fear deepened as the whispers returned, now louder and more insistent. Desperate to escape, she tried to reopen the door but found it locked tight. Her lantern flickered out again, leaving her in suffocating darkness. Groping blindly, Clara stumbled upon a small, hidden alcove behind the altar. Inside was a dagger with a gleaming silver blade and a note that read, "Only blood will appease it. The weight of her discovery left her paralyzed with fear. Clara fled the room as the door inexplicably creaked open, releasing her. Back in the main church hall, the oppressive whispers persisted, faint but menacing. She examined the dagger and note under the candlelight, deciphering an inscription etched into the blade. To sever the tethered soul. Unsure of its meaning, she decided to consult Father Benedict. The priest's expression darkened as Clara recounted her experience, his hands trembling when she showed him the mark. "You've been cursed by something ancient," he whispered, "sealed beneath this church for good reason." He warned her not to return to the room, but Clara was undeterred. Desperation gnawed at her. The whispers seemed to echo inside her mind, urging her back. Father Benedict reluctantly agreed to research the entity further, hoping to save her from its grasp. Father Benedict unearthed an old, dusty tome from the church archives, detailing the forgotten room's history. He explained that the room once housed a secret cult expelled by the church centuries ago. Their leader, a powerful necromancer, had summoned a demon to grant them immortality. However, the summoning backfired, and the demon turned on its masters, trapping their souls within the church walls. The room was sealed to contain the creature, but the curse remained potent. Clara listened in horror as he described the spiraling mark as the entity's tether, marking its chosen host. If the tether wasn't severed, Clara's soul would be consumed, and the demon would be freed. The priest urged her to leave the village, but Clara refused, determined to confront the entity. Clara returned to the room, armed with the silver dagger, against Father Benedict's pleas. This time, the air felt heavier, suffused with a palpable malevolence. The whispers grew deafening as she approached the altar, the symbols on the book glowing ominously. With trembling hands, she lifted the dagger, intending to destroy the book. The moment the blade touched the pages, an ear-splitting shriek filled the room. The dagger was flung from her grip by an unseen force, embedding itself in the wall. The shadows surged toward her, knocking her to the ground. Struggling to her feet, Clara realized the entity had grown stronger, feeding on her fear and determination. The room seemed alive, its walls pulsating as though breathing. Defeated and shaken, Clara sought the wisdom of the village elder who had first told her the tale. The elder, an ancient woman with piercing eyes, revealed a chilling truth. The entity thrives on bravery and defiance. To defeat it, you must surrender to fear without succumbing. She explained that the dagger could sever the tether, but only when wielded with complete clarity and no anger. Clara found this advice cryptic and maddening, unsure how to proceed. As she left, the elder warned her of the rising stakes. The longer you delay, the stronger it grows. That night, Clara was plagued by vivid nightmares of being consumed by the spiraling mark. She awoke drenched in sweat, her resolve wavering but unbroken. The next day, Clara noticed subtle but terrifying changes in herself. The mark on her wrist burned, spreading faint lines like roots across her arm. Her reflection in the mirror seemed distorted, her eyes darker and shadowed. Throughout the day, her thoughts became clouded, and the whispers transformed into guttural commands, urging her to embrace the entity. Fearing she was losing control, Clara locked herself in her room. She tied the silver dagger to her arm as a desperate precaution, hoping to use it if the entity attempted to overtake her. Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the door, and when she opened it, she found Father Benedict, pale and trembling. "It's not just you anymore," he said gravely. "The village is starting to feel its wrath." The church bells tolled incessantly, but not by human hands. The sound echoed unnaturally, sending waves of dread through the village. People reported strange occurrences: livestock disappearing, crops withering overnight, and an oppressive darkness settling over the streets. Clara and Father Benedict gathered the villagers in the church, explaining the curse and its growing power. Panic ensued as they realized their safety was tied to Clara's fate. The villagers begged her to leave, hoping to banish the entity with her departure. But Clara stood firm, promising to end the curse once and for all. "I won't let it take any more lives," she declared, clutching the dagger tightly. Father Benedict reluctantly prepared for a final exorcism, though doubt clouded his heart. Determined to confront the entity, Clara descended into the room one last time, accompanied by Father Benedict. The room's atmosphere was heavier than ever, the shadows writhing as if alive. The book lay open on the altar, its pages glowing with a malevolent light. Father Benedict began chanting prayers, his voice steady despite the rising storm of whispers. Clara raised the dagger, focusing on the elder's cryptic advice, but doubt clouded her mind. The shadows lashed out, striking Father Benedict and sending him sprawling. Alone and terrified, Clara felt the entity's presence seep into her, urging her to surrender. Summoning her courage, she gripped the dagger tighter, preparing for the ultimate confrontation. The shadows coalesced into the cloaked figure from before, its hollow eyes burning with unearthly light. It spoke in a deep, resonant voice, taunting Clara with visions of her worst fears. The figure reached out, its skeletal hand passing through Clara's chest, freezing her heart and filling her mind with despair. Struggling to breathe, Clara remembered the elder's words: "Surrender to fear without succumbing." She closed her eyes, letting the fear wash over her without resisting it. The entity hesitated, its form flickering as though weakened by her calm acceptance. Clara seized the moment, plunging the dagger into her own marked wrist, severing the tether. A deafening roar erupted as the entity began to unravel. As the dagger pierced her wrist, Clara felt searing pain but held firm. The mark flared brightly, and the entity's form disintegrated into wisps of shadow. The book on the altar burst into flames, its ashes swirling violently before vanishing. Father Benedict regained consciousness, witnessing Clara collapse to the floor. The whispers ceased, replaced by a profound silence that filled the room. Clara's vision blurred, but she smiled faintly, knowing the curse was broken. Father Benedict carried her out of the room, his tears falling on her lifeless body. Outside, the villagers watched in silence, the oppressive darkness lifting as sunlight pierced the clouds. In the days that followed, the village began to heal. The crops revived, the livestock returned, and the church bells rang joyfully once more. Father Benedict held a memorial for Clara, honoring her bravery and sacrifice. The dagger and the burned remnants of the book were locked away, hidden to prevent future misuse. The villagers rebuilt their lives, forever grateful for Clara's selfless act. But deep beneath the church, the forgotten room remained. Though the entity was vanquished, a faint whisper sometimes drifted through the trapdoor, hinting that not all evil can be fully destroyed. The legend of Clara's courage endured, a reminder of the cost of facing the darkness. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for more new videos.